Have you ever had those conversations where you thought, this needs to be explored a little bit more? Maybe it's about spirituality. Maybe it's about finding that one thing that helps you bring balance in your life. Mind Sattva is your space, it's your community where we all come together and develop this. Through conversations with guests, we will explore ideas about clarity and about living in balance. Balance is the beginning point, it's not the destination. Every episode is an invitation to think differently, to live fully, and begin again. Welcome to Mind Sattva, Practical Wisdom for Modern Life. I'm Dr. Mitika Kanabar, your host, and a curious thinker and an everyday seeker. Why this podcast? Why now? Why should you even listen? Have you ever wondered, what if I knew this information earlier in life? Have you ever wondered, would you have chosen differently? Would your life path have been different? This is the precise emotion for which this podcast has been put together. Mind Sattva has two words, mind and sattva. Mind is obviously the mind. Sattva is Sanskrit word for one of the gunas of material nature. Essentially, it stands for equipoise. When your mind is at equipoise, when trouble finds you, and it will find you, how you respond to trouble or the opportunity of growth, as we may say, from mindfulness perspective. How you respond to this opportunity of growth changes if you have just the right information prepared way in advance. The idea with Mind Sattva is to give you perspectives from Eastern philosophy, from Western research, putting it all together. I've looked and looked to find such a resource. It's not easy to find. So we are going to do this experiment together where we get guests from Eastern wisdom as well as Western science and knowledge, and those who are proficient in both as well, and get their takes. What would they have liked to know when they were younger? What would they have done differently if they knew this if they were younger? What are some of the things that they do today in their everyday life to bring balance? We all have seen the lists on social media. 5 things to do as soon as you wake up, 4-hour protocol of anti-aging. None of it actually gets done because it's easy to consume a clip online. It's not easy to put it in practice. Even in research, when we look at medical research per se, in medicine, we will say, okay, this drug in this manner works in this way. But there's this whole other body of research that is called implementation research or implementation science. And do you actually apply this research? There are thousands or hundreds of thousands of research papers that tell you what to do, but to piece it together, effectively apply at the individual, team, clinic, and organizational level is extremely difficult. Same as for any information that we receive. Not all of it is applicable to us and our situation. It needs to be personalized. Everybody is different because our journeys are different. So, is there a way that we can bring some of these nuggets where we look at them, we understand them, maybe prod them a little, challenge them robustly, and see what comes? Ask the right questions, be curious, and then see if it applies to us. Now, this brings me to this concept of what is learning. When we think of it, maybe we are thinking, I'm a student sitting in a class and the teacher is writing something on the blackboard. I know, we don't have blackboards anymore, but run with me over here, right? And then we are trying to get some information that is being imparted. Now, the teacher is not just writing on the blackboard. They've done their study, they've really prepared a lesson plan, they have some ideas of what they need you to gain from it. So there is this human component of it that we enjoy. So that is one way of learning. The other way of learning is actually reading the textbook yourself. Or you may think, oh, I'm going to learn from nowadays podcasts, which are very popular. So if we go back a little bit and look at Eastern philosophy, Sanskrit has some ideas on what learning is. So, in a traditional approach in Sanskrit, it is said that learning has four parts: Sushrusha, Shravanam, Grahanam, Dharanam. The willingness to listen is part one. Part two is listening itself. Are you really paying attention? Or are you just hearing something? Comprehension. How much of this are you truly comprehending? And retention. How much are you retaining? So let's tease this out a little bit more. You need to be eager or willing to learn. The listening needs to be active, not just hearing. Grahanam. So Grahanam is interesting. So you're not just taking in the information, you are also understanding the structure or the diorama that is set up before you. But the last part, that is Dharanam, is not just rote memory. It's observing it in nature, observing it mindfully, seeing what applies to you, and then retaining the information. And I like this other word that to me speaks of Dharanam, and it is Angikrutva. So, Angikrut is when you have retained the knowledge in such a fashion that now it lives within your bones. So many beautiful aspects of looking at languages and how they play. I'm hoping to bring some more of that as the time goes on. So, why Mind Sattva podcast and why now? It's actually an idea I've been sitting on for a few years, always waiting for the right time, for the perfect moment, and maybe thinking, I need to be an expert in something or the other first. Doing a lot of courses, I've learned Sanskrit on the way, so which has been an amazing journey in itself. And I think the time is just right as of today. I have an amazing team, and I have some really good signs in nature that it's the right time. Like I said, I want to give you the decision making matrix early in life. I'm the conduit. I can bring guests from across the world with many talents that I have the privilege of access to, that maybe somebody somewhere else on earth does not. And this knowledge is important. It needs to be shared. It can benefit folks. The other aspect of what I'm planning to do with this process is also make it available in different languages. I personally can speak very decent Hindi and Gujarati and a little bit of Marathi and some other languages, and have some proficiency in Sanskrit. So hopefully in the future, I'm able to put some media or clips in different languages that are applicable to folks, that they find some peace and equipoise in their own lives. The natural question then is, how this all came to be? I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. I did my medical school in India. Then I did my master's in public health and epidemiology in the US. This was fascinating, as now I can actually look at research papers. And I also did a course in how to tear down the research papers. Like, oh, you're just making some numbers up. It doesn't really add scientific value. So it was a very difficult program, lots of effort, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And after that, I did my residency in family medicine. And eventually, I did this very beautiful elective in addiction medicine. So I did a couple of ways of understanding addiction medicine from there. One part was going to rural Minnesota and seeing the work of addiction medicine. The other part was I attended one of the most famous rehabs in the world. It's called the Hazelden Rehab out in Center City, Minnesota. It was a 1 week rotation as a part of my residency, and I just thoroughly enjoyed the work. So I went ahead and applied for fellowships, and was very, as a very happy surprise, was given the only spot at Stanford University School of Medicine fellowship program at that time. So through my work at Stanford and my learnings at Stanford, I got to understand psychotherapy, group work, addiction, vulnerability, empathy, compassion in a very different format than before. Addiction is a very difficult disease to face, and it takes everything from the patient to fight it and to live to tell the tale. That gave me a very beautiful grounding in the work that I do today. It also taught me about behavioral addictions, which are screen addiction. Everybody thinks nowadays we are all hooked to our screens, and that may be so. So I got to learn that hands on during my training. Later on in life, a few years into practice, I got interested in learning more about Vedic wisdom, and I have some books that really helped me in the process. That led me to think, oh, I need to delve deeper. I want to learn yoga with the philosophy, and I want to learn it for myself. I don't want a sort of Western interpretation. I want to understand the words themselves. And the reason is a lot of the Sanskrit is written in a poetry form. So imagine that even if you're changing a poem from one language to another, it loses a lot of that beauty or that um, music as you were from one language to another. And I didn't want to lose that essence of it. And realized that first, to even understand Ayurveda or yoga or any of these other approaches, I need to learn Sanskrit. So I did a couple years of Sanskrit training. And then the more I read about all of this, I started seeing the parallels between what we have on the West with evidence based approaches for mental health and recovery, and what we have in India or Indian traditions, Hinduism and Buddhism, Jainism, all of that, right? Sikhism. We have so many other nuggets, not in the religion per se, but even if you go back into the older texts pre religion, there's a lot of wisdom in there that kind of complements each other. I wouldn't say one is all that you need. This brings me back to personalization. Some people will be good with one system or another. Some people want a little bit of both. So, what works for one person, for their circumstances, for the environment that they grew up in, for the stresses that they had, may not work for the other person. Is there a way in which I can learn them both together? And I've been looking at it, and there's not so many resources out there. So this has been a slow process. I have enjoyed how both of them can sort of tag team at best, and sometimes they can be completely opposite. One of the other reasons is, sometimes you will read all the time, like in social media or in real life, like, oh, if you're anxious or depressed, you just need to do yoga or you just need to do blah or blah or blah because it worked for me. Mental illness doesn't work like that. What needs treatment needs treatment. Are there some adjuvants to that that increases the joy we get out of life? That is my purpose of bringing in all of this wisdom. It is not medical advice. It is not, you need to do this. None of this is prescriptive. This exercise is just knowing that this knowledge exists out there, maybe know a couple of nuggets of wisdom from there, and then just keep that and see them in nature, whether in your daily life, if they are at all applicable to you, if they change your decision making, or if they change how exhausted you feel at the end of the day. I want to go back to the concept of mind sattva. What are the three gunas? Rajas is red, tamas is dark or black, brown, dark purple, and yellow is sattva. So these are just ideas that you can take in. So these are the three gunas of material nature. They are like a braid or plait. If I were to plait my hair right now, so it's a three-stranded rope of material nature is called the three guna structure. The idea is that we have to step away from the three gunas to be able to transcend our reality in some way from a spiritual perspective, and from a stress and anxiety for those not having a medical illness perspective. It does help us to detach from ruminating or concentrating on some annoying thing that happened today. So there are things that we can play with. And this is just that. It's just a sort of a dance between things that are pulling us emotionally, things that our rational mind is saying, and what is the wise mind saying. So that is a framework of dialectical behavioral therapy, which also has some roots in the Eastern wisdom, especially Zen Buddhism and dhyana in the yoga. So the three gunas of material nature are rajas, tamas, and sattva. So if there is a way to change whether we are in rajas, tamas, or sattva, to be more equipoised, being more calm when we respond to things that trigger us. Maybe somebody cut us off in traffic, maybe somebody yelled at us, maybe we didn't do as well as we thought we would in exams. Is there a way to change our reality, to decrease the suffering that we go through? Pain and difficulties will come our way. Suffering is optional. I'm going to say that again. Difficulties will find us. Pain will find us. Suffering is optional. I know it sounds very weird. It does to me too. That sometimes I do want to go through the suffering to know the lesson that life is trying to teach me. Is there a way we decrease the amplitude of the suffering, at least our perception of the suffering? Some of the pain we just have to go through. It is our previous karma in some form or the other. Some of the thoughts that I'm sharing right now. Okay. Coming back to Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. Rajas is red, it's angry, fighting a battle, getting mad at somebody, delivering a baby, running a marathon. Tamas is, oh my God, that marathon was so tiring. I'm going to lie down. Oh, I'm feeling down. I'm feeling depressed. Oh, nothing's ever going to become right with me. And Sattva is equipoise. It's like yogi sitting on the mat. The framework I would love to give you is where the light of knowledge shines. That's exactly where Sattva resides. Can you be on a mat and meditate and go through life? No. But you can take that emotion of being one with your true self and respond, not react to situations. That's what we are bringing with Mind Sattva. Now we have a little bit of the framework that I'm talking about. Why bring them two together? The way I look at it is the functioning of an eye. So a little bit of medicine coming your way, but bear with me. Just go with me on this one. So when you have two eyes, if you think about it, if you close one eye and you look around, it'll have like maybe this field of vision. If you close the other eye, look around, it will have this field of vision. So the two perspectives that you're getting from each eye are actually not the same. It's sort of similar, but the field of vision testing will show you that there are parts of the image that you are getting are only from one direction or the other. Basically, there are two cameras, and the information is being input in the back of your retina. From the back of the eye, it goes to the back of the brain, where it gets interpreted as this one beautiful, amazing 3D image. So, when I'm looking at these different perspectives, whether it is research or medical knowledge, whether it is philosophy, traditions, older knowledge, I think of them as these two different outlooks. So, what happens when you don't see out of one eye or put a patch over it? You are going to see a lot. Your eyes are still wonderfully functional. But say I'm picking up an object, and maybe I'm picking up these AirPods. My hand is going to fall somewhere else. It's not going to pick up the object itself because it misses the depth perception. If we have both the eyes working and these images are sort of congruent a little bit, it creates this idea of depth perception. My idea of bringing Mind Sattva together is to create this depth, create or have these beautiful, longer, deep dive conversations in a way that has not been easily accessible before. And when you also make that content available in various languages, that's the icing on the cake. How do we create this depth perception? We do not do that alone, right? We all have to come together. So that brings me to this other idea from Sanskritam. It's a subhashita. So subhashitas are sayings that have been passed through time. Nobody knows their origin, but it still makes sense. So how it goes is a quarter of your knowledge comes from the teacher. A quarter of the knowledge comes by reading it yourself. Another quarter you learn from your peers, and the last quarter only comes with time. So, and when we think about it, we will have experts from various fields, whether it's medicine, money management, leadership, education, as well as Eastern wisdom. So Sanskrit teachers. They will give us that first part. Maybe we will also do the second part. Part 3, we learn from each other. So one way would be that I get suggestions from you, whom to have as guests, or if you have something to add, or we create this community where we have discourse. That has to be very robust to build a community like this who are seeking more knowledge. And the last is with time. It takes time to just retain the knowledge. And like I said before, to feel it in your bones that I understand this. When the time comes, when I'm in trouble, I can apply it because I've been practicing for this. So it's kind of like what we were all told as children, right? Mom would say, like, your exam is tomorrow, you're opening the books today. You never dig a well at the time of a fire. The idea being, if you want to fireproof or have fire readiness, you want to dig the wells way in advance, have it filled with water from the water table prior to having a fire, not at the time of. So we are kind of preparing ourselves for the inevitable roadblocks that we are going to get for our own growth and respond differently. I know that we just discussed a lot of information. This can feel a lot to take in. Take your time, maybe listen to this again, maybe share it with a friend who may need it too. Remember, the first step is self compassion. Let's find that within us and continue this journey further. I'm so excited for the episodes that are coming next. We've had some wonderful interviews that I can't wait to share. Thank you for joining me today on Mind Sattva, Practical Wisdom for Modern Life. If today's episode sparked something within you, I hope you share it with a friend who may need it too. We discussed some ideas and concepts. Let's take some time to observe them in nature or in daily life. Until then, let's stay curious, grounded, and remember that balance is not a destination, it's just a beginning. Let's meet again, or audio.